Breeders' Cup Mile, always one of the highlights of Breeders' Cup weekend. One lap around the turf course at Churchill Downs, and that turf course expected to take a lot of rain on Wednesday and Thursday, and course condition will be the talk of Breeders' Cup weekend. And once again, the talk of Breeders' Cup weekend as well will be Naira bets. And you should be playing through Naira bets. If you're not a member, no better time than the present. Bet 200, get 250. Breeders' Cup promo. Promo code is BC250. This will be available through November 3rd. And once you've signed up, there will be doubles linking all Breeders' Cup races on Friday and Saturdays and a 10% winner's bonus if you're playing through Naira bets. The Breeders' Cup Mile, the U.S. horses, the North American horses, and the Euros. And you say North America, because perhaps the top U.S.-based horse is Oscar Performance, and his two races at 1 mile in 2018 have both been terrific. His effort in the poker was sensational, a race he showed he could rate, and on the front end at Woodbine, he got back in form after a disaster in the Arlington Million. The problem that I have is that I'm a little dubious of him on a rain-soaked course, and he had everything his own way in this Woodbine Mile. He was allowed to absolutely walk on the front end. And in fact, Mr. Haverkamp, who's a nice horse, but not competitive with this quality of horse, was the horse who was sitting second to him, and he finished second in there. That was not a super tough field. And while I respect Oscar Performance and his connections, I think this Breeders' Cup race is a good one to bet against him in. We'll head on over to Keeneland, where Next Shares got a brilliant ride by Tyler Gaffalione, and you'll see why he won that Keeneland meet, as he came right up the fence and a dominating performance. And if he can duplicate this performance on the rain-softened course, don't kid yourself, Next Shares, and there was some give in the ground, he can run well. But the horse I want to look at is Analyze It, who's on the outside, and he'll eventually finish, I believe, 4th in this race. He's 3rd right now. I don't think he was ever in a good position in this race. I just thought he was sort of loafing along 3 to 4 wide the whole way, out of position, and it's just not the kind of trip you want. Now, there's a question of whether he's good enough. If he's 6 to 1 like the morning line, I wouldn't bet him. He's like 20 to 1 over in Europe. He's supposed to be 12 to 15 to 1 here, and I'll tell you something about Analyze It. This is a good day to have him be more forwardly placed. Maybe put him on the front end, try to be aggressive. Don't sit back in 5th and lollygag around. You could argue the best races this horse ever ran, and he's a horse that's handled given the ground as well, where when he was aggressively placed, be aggressive with Analyze It. And I think he is a rare Chad Brown horse that's going to be a square price, and Analyze It is my pick to upset this race, though I respect some others in here. Now, Catapult, speaking of Chad Brown, was in the Chad Brown barn, but he seems to be running very, very well for his new trainer out in California, and that's John Sadler. But once again, we get the situation with John Sadler and the fact that he doesn't have a lot of success outside of California, and he has not had success in Breeders' Cup races. Catapult ran very well to win at Del Mar. Now, they haven't run this one in 2.5 months. We'll see how it works out. He didn't prep at Santa Anita, but he did come back, and he beat Sharp Samurai, who came back to win his next start. I respect Catapult, but he got a perfect trip that day, and he's one that I really question getting to a rain-softened course. I'm not going to be playing Catapult in this race. Let's talk about Europeans. We'll start out by talking about Lightning Spear, and he beat Expert Eye. This was in the very prestigious Sussex at Goodwood. And while there was some give in the ground, I think, and you can see in the red silks, that Lightning Spear is a horse that prefers it a little more firm. And while he sort of caught lightning in a bottle and he got this win as a 7-year-old in the prestigious Sussex, I actually think Expert Eye, the 3-year-old for Sir Michael Stout, is probably the one that you would prefer out of this race and in general. He came back and he actually ran okay in 2 subsequent performances, one at Longchamp and one at York. Lightning Spear ran well this day. I don't want him this Breeders' Cup. Expert Eye, the number 7, he's a horse that could be in my play somewhere. I believe that I picked him 4th. A very important European race for the Breeders' Cup is the Prix de la Forêt, run at 7 furlongs at Longchamp. And while we're going to highlight 2 horses in here, one master who upset the field at 47 to 1, and the 4th place finisher Gustav Klimt for Aidan O'Brien. Gustav Klimt had trouble in this race, and he always has trouble. The horse we're not highlighting, and you can go back and find this race on YouTube, you can see buried down the rail in a sort of burgundy hat and those gray silks, that was the favorite, Polydream. And Polydream was absolutely buried in traffic. And when able to get, I had the wrong horse, actually. It's in the Wertheim Frere silks, I should say. Those blue silks sort of rallying inside the gray horse to finish 7th. You'll pick her out with a couple of showings. Polydream had significant trouble in there. She was 3 to 2, and her race 2 back in the Maurice de Geest, a very impressive and important race. She ran great and was one of the most highly rated fillies in Europe. I think Polly Dream is the European you want in here. She'll be a short price. She's the horse to beat, in my opinion. I'm just taking Analyze It at a much better price. Let's talk about a couple of other Europeans, though, before we finish this race. We've talked about Expert Eye, who I've got fourth. We have talked about the number 14 in this race, and that is Moustache. Moustache, once again, is the kind of European that I like. And I know I sound like a broken record, but this has worked in the past. They've been playing the Breeders' Cup, and he won a lesser rate last time, but I like his efforts, and I think that he's peaking at the right time for the right trainer. I wish he didn't draw post 14, but I think he has the speed to get himself into position, and perhaps he won't be hurt by that post. And I'm going to use the 14 Moustache at a big price. As I said, I'll use Expert Eye as well. I Can Fly, the 8-horse for Aidan O'Brien. This horse ran very well in a boggy course at Ascot last time out when he finished a narrowly beaten second to Roaring Lion. That was his best effort by far to date. And if he duplicates that effort on a rain-softened course, I Can Fly has a chance at a price. This one's wide open. Have some fun. The Breeders' Cup Mile is always one of the most entertaining races on an entertaining weekend of Breeders' Cup races, and it'll also start off a double. And as you may well know, 10% winner's bonus on all doubles linking Breeders' Cup races. Betting through Naira Bets, $10 minimum to participate in this. And also, to participate in all of these, go to NairaBets.com. And if you're not a member, bet 200, get 250, a Breeders' Cup new member bonus available through November 3rd. Use BC250 as your promo code to bet all races, including the great Breeders' Cup races this weekend at Churchill Downs.